Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
So, this is the last episode of Two Guys Talking About Records for 2024. And do you know what that means?
Yes. Does that mean that we're going to do a countdown?
It is. It is. And we have talked before just about how difficult it is to put together this stuff for these countdown shows. In fact, I don't like this very much. I dislike it so much that I put together a top 10 list of the top 10 reasons that I don't like doing top 10 countdown shows.
Oh, Lord. Whoa.
Okay, number 10.
And welcome to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where two guys are talking about records. And not only that, we're talking about our best, worst, or whatever for 2024.
Love them or hate them. That's what everybody does, right?
That's right, everyone. I've already done my best of 2024, and I'll have another 20 of them coming with whatever else. But I'm Steve. I am a record collector.
And my name is Jim, and I own a record store. And it's hard to believe that 2024 is kind of at the curb already, isn't it? It's just blew by.
Well, the older you get, the faster it goes. And that's why you got to check the wheel periodically. Hey, is that thing updated or what?
I think Einstein said something about that at some point, didn't he?
Is this what the theory of relativity is all about?
So.
The older you get, you're going to die. It's going to feel like it's coming really quick.
Oh, man. Well, today's episode, in addition to a couple of other things, we are going to do our 2024 wrap. But rather than just do, these are the best, blessed, below, we've got a list of 10 things that are a little bit different. So we'll try that and see if that makes it a little bit easier to get through, specifically for our collecting. How's that sound?
I think let's do it.
And at the very end, we want you folks to stick around. I know we drone on for about an hour an episode here, but if you can stick around to the very end, we got some numbers from Spotify that we'd love to share and say thank you. So hang out for that. But as this is the Vinyl Community Podcast, each week we like to talk about our recent pickups and additions. And Steve, I hope your eclectic nature doesn't let us down this week with the pickups. So how'd you do?
Well, very little.
Really? Oh, wow.
Very little.
It was the holiday. You didn't get any for Christmas except that Donny Osmond.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the family never gives me records, except that one year where they got a hold of you and got me a couple
right.
some heat, but otherwise forget it. But I had a couple things coming from Radio Wasteland. We had Parliament Aqua Boogie, and this does have the complete. It's hard to show. You don't want to rip this, but oh well. It has the cutout pop-up figures on here. And this is an extremely clean copy. I do have a copy of this actually, Jim. When I ordered it, I said, I don't think I have that one. Nah, I did.
Oops.
But it's a cutout. It's a cutout and not nearly as pristine as this. It did have the little cutouts in there, but this is a beautiful copy. And it's not my favorite Parliament album, but it's a great I just love Parliament. So, yeah, I'm very happy to get that.
I want you to hold on to that idea of the internal gatefold pop-ups for a couple of moments. We're going to come back to this.
Okay. All right.
Oh, man.
Jim, I tried to get this a long time ago, and Jim's been trying to get that for me, and it finally came in. We got the Black Country Communion 5, and, really cool type vinyl, pretty neat.
Neat looking.
Yeah, what's neat, so what makes this album interesting is it has Glenn Hughes, Joe Bonamassa, Jason Bonham, and Derek Sherman. And so, I mean, these guys all have their own bands, big bands, but it's kind of like a super group. And so I read about this and saw, I says, yeah, I need to get this. So it's very much hard rock. A lot of great guitar playing, but it didn't thrill me. It's good. No, maybe it's just too straightforward for me. I don't know, Jim. I mean, it's for those that like great hard rock, this is wonderful for you. You know, I tend to be more in the post-punk
Yep.
punk kind of lane. Well, I don't know. I don't know if even I don't know where I'm at. It's
Your
not
lane is
Africa,
a your
I'll
lane
tell
is
you
a
that.
your lane is a 6-lane highway with
Yeah.
multiple on ramps.
That's right. So it's a very good album for those that really like rock, hard rock. I mean, you're going to love it. I truly believe you would on there. It didn't make my top list, but it's still happy to get it. But it isn't like I'm going to go back and say I got to get the rest of them.
And it was odd that it was so tough to get a hold of too. I mean, that thing was on back order for a long time.
A long time because I asked for that a long time ago.
You
I
did, yeah.
totally forgot about it. My final one is Manure Clifton Chenier, Louisiana Blues, and Zydeco. This is his first album. Originally came out in mid 60s. This is a repress, I believe, possibly from the 70s on Arhuli. So with his first one, very traditional Zydeco music on here, a little more bluesy. You definitely hear the blues in it, but wonderful stuff. Again, as I've mentioned many times, Chenier is my favorite Zydeco player, and I love spinning his disc. I think that makes like 10 albums I have from him now.
Wow.
Not a completist gem, but just if I see it, I'll get it. If not, whatever. But this is a beautiful, clean copy. Sounds fantastic, and look, he's rocking plaid, and I mean, if we talk about 70s and white shoes, I mean, yeah, we're talking. Looks like my prom suit, kind of. So yeah, wonderful
A
stuff.
fashion statement.
It is. That's what I got this week, Jim. What
Well,
about you?
I have a few things as well. It's that little weird time in between Christmas and New Year, so things are either super busy at the store or they're not. And I've kind of had that this week where, especially with the holiday in the midweek, you get that extra day off. So it's a shortened
Yeah.
one where the store's kind of been going in spurts. So I've only been getting through a few things, trying to keep up with our inventorying from the last couple of weeks. But I did manage to get a couple of things brought forward. I'd had these for the past couple of weeks, but haven't officially added them while I was still working. First up, this was a very recent reissue of something from Vixen. It's called Rare Vixen. These are the all-female rockers from the late 80s and early 90s, the hair band unto themselves, Vixen. I've told you, I think, the story about riding in a limo with these girls back in the late 80s at a concert when I was working in radio, it was real cool. It's a neat memory I'll carry on here. So I was looking forward to this. I do have their big album. I forget the title of that. I guess I'm not that big of a fan, obviously, but this is cool. So I was looking forward to this because this is supposedly just a collection of outtakes and rarities and radio stuff. And I think they put out 2 versions as you get some photos on the inside of them. And there's a red vinyl version and a red marbled kind of dark marble. A couple of the songs on these, and this is really good. A couple of them are not. And I had to be remembered that, Vixen did get their start in some movies, like some 80s, B grade movies. They were like the house band or the band playing in the back. I think they were in the movie Hard Bodies. Actually,
Okay.
some of those, the TNA movies from the 80s. And those songs are on here, and the audio quality just differs from cut to cut. There's a live one where they just don't even bother fading out at the end. It's just like, and they cut the audience off at the end. And then there's stuff that is absolutely from the movie. It says actually here, Mr. Cool with dialogue from Hard Bodies. I think they took the audio straight from the VHS version of that film. So this is cool from a collector standpoint if you're into Vixen. I just wish they'd done a better job putting it together. When I put together the Spotify playlist, I found just an absolute, I think the word now is cringe, but we would just call it cringe-worthy
Yeah.
cut called Computer Madness, singing about computers from the late 80s. So
So
I'll put that on.
so Jim, that wasn't cut by Kevin Gray.
No. Sorry.
Remastered and cut by Kevin Gray.
It took
Hey,
a second. But yeah, I wish that they had done a better job assembling that. It's just kind of, it feels like it was just a cash grab. Let's just grab whatever stuff we've
yeah,
got and throw it on and put some pictures of the women on the front and it'll sell. So
there we go.
very
And
happy
where
on this next one. Yeah, this next one, very happy to get a good copy. And this is Redbone and Wakova. This, I've had my eye out for one of these for a while. They come through the store from time to time. This is the 1973 pressing. And I'm always on the lookout for a good copy of this. And sometimes it's really tough to find because they're beat up. But this is one of those. It's just a fun album, and they're a cool group. They of course hit it big with "Come and Get Your Love," but there's a lot of other great stuff on this. These guys, of course, in all a band of all Native Americans. Jimi Hendrix, I was reading, really encouraged them to get their start and start recording. So this has got that beveled cover, the embossed cover, which is very cool. But nice to have a good copy of that finally in the collection.
I don't think I've ever seen that, actually.
No?
I'm totally unfamiliar with that copy.
Oh man. Okay, well then you're going to have to listen to the Spotify playlist that we'll put some good cuts on there from there. I just really
I'll do that.
I really dig that band. This next one is from the Psych collection that keeps on giving. We talked about one of those things earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
I found one here by an artist named Phillimore Lincoln, and this is an album called The North Wind Blue South. This is from, and let me call this up here, originally released in 1970, and this is Phillimore Lincoln's only album, the only one that he put out as a solo artist. He, according to Discogs, is an English drummer, singer, songwriter, and record producer who joined the RAF at one point in his life. He had at one point also played with Brian Auger in the Trinity, but pretty much that's it. Now this album is one of those. It's one of those albums that's all over the map, and you think you're getting a very cool psych rock album, and then it gets a little. We've talked about psych, and we had that whole episode on psych. I feel that this one covers a lot of the ground that we talked about in psych. There's some that are symphonic, orchestral, and they remind me of the Moody Blues. And then there's one on here that's just straight up blues rock, blues psych. And then there's others that feel almost poppy in nature, like you're listening to, I don't want to really say, but like maybe the Mamas and the Papas or more California. But this guy is British, and I like it. But again, it's all over the map, and so I'm still trying to get a good peg on it. It's not a tremendously expensive psych record, but it's also not one that's just $5 here and there. But Phillimore Lincoln, I did find some cuts for him, and we'll have that on the Spotify playlist as well.
He looked like Bob Dylan on the back cover.
He did. I think we're going to hear a lot about Dylan here in the next couple of months because of that movie coming out.
Yeah.
And finally, before I get to this last one, I need to ask, we have talked about possibly doing the first episode of next year as kind of a new vinyl resolutions.
Yeah.
Will you remind me at that point that one of my resolutions should be not to buy a copy of something that I already have in another form again, 3 times over?
Oh,
Because I got suckered in on one. I bought another copy of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, the bootleg. This is the Wembley concert version that they released officially last year in 23, that one that sounded so nice.
yeah.
And I've got a couple of other bootleg versions of this out there. For some reason, they're calling this, it's still live at the Wembley Empire, but let me get to my notes here. They're still calling this Pink Floyd Are Back 50th anniversary, even though nowhere on this does it appear the title Are Back. And so I can't quite figure it out. When it showed up at my distributor, it said Pink Floyd Are Back. It was on an unofficial. So I did some research and found out that it was the Wembley Empire Pool concert from 74 that they did just recently reissue, as we mentioned last year. This sounds fantastic. So I thought, okay, well, what the heck? It's not a cheap album. This thing lists for about $100 for crying out loud. But it came with a really neat OBI strip.
Well, there you have it.
Vinyl, yep, the vinyl itself is, and this is a tough one to figure out also. The vinyl itself is colored vinyl on one side. It's got a very prismy looking colored vinyl on one side. And then the other side is a picture disc. So it looks cool,
Yeah.
but it does not sound as good as it looks. For
Okay.
the quality that I've seen of this Wembley bootleg in the past, they did not use a good sound source for this. But here's what else really suckered me in on this. I'm going to have to blow this back up again. So if you look, we mentioned that pop up, and if you open this up, it's got a pop up of the Silver Surfer, which according to what I'd read was one of Roger Waters' original ideas for the artwork for Dark Side of the Moon. And each of these little astronauts that show up on here, they're little pop outs that are glued that are glued on when you put it through there. So I'm just kind of going, well, this is really bizarre. And then the back has got a die cut with a window that shows through to the inner sleeve. And here's where it really kind of goes off the rails, Steve. The inserts on this include a 50th anniversary insert with Dark Side of the Moon, or I'm sorry, First Man on the Moon postage stamps. So, yeah, it's from the Apollo, and so this and they're actual. I mean, seriously, they're actual postage stamps included
Wow.
in on this. And I don't know. I'm sure they're recreations because if you're going to bootleg an album, who's to say you can't bootleg postage stamps of that nature? This is really the last thing in the world I need. What do they call it? What do they call a person who collects stamps?
Oh, not a
Yeah,
the
I know what you
filler.
mean. Yes, somebody will correct us in the comments on this.
I
So,
used
and
to
is
collect postage stamps.
yeah, there's like a postcard in there with another postage stamp on it too.
Yep.
So I'm looking at
First
this
day issue.
package. Yeah,
That's a
yes,
first day issue. I used to
I'm
own
look
one of them.
really
Yes,
okay.
it doesn't work well. A flood just does not. Stamps and floods don't go together.
So yeah, the postcard is first day of issue, 50th anniversary, Dark Side of the Moon, live in London. They obviously took that Apollo postcard and
Yeah.
reworked it. This is not original, I'm certain. Geez, bootleggers getting that wrong, but I'm all over the map on this. It's like, okay, this is a record. It's a bootleg of a live concert. They could have done better, but the packaging is absolutely cool. And then they
Yeah.
include things like postage stamps. It's like, why is there postage stamps? But I guess it ties in with the theme. So there
I
you go.
cannot I cannot believe you did not try to throw that hook out there and grab me to buy one of them.
Well, truth be told, there was only one in stock, and I wanted to see what it was
Ah,
first. So if
there
you'd
we go.
like, I will look for another one for you. The, the
That
other thing
packaging is super cool.
The packaging is cool. The other thing that was really weird, they shipped it in its own poly sleeve with a couple of stickers on here, and the top was sealed with let me call this up here again, with like a ticket stub from Pink Floyd, and there was no way around it. The only way I could get it was to cut that open, to get it open. Did I need another copy? I think I've got the official version of that concert and then two other bootlegs that sound great. Did I need this one? No, but oh, for crap's sake, it's cool, Steve.
It
All
is
that
cool.
extra
That's
stuff.
very cool.
So,
Wow.
as always, dear folks, make sure you check out the description in the Spotify episode description, as well as the YouTube description and our Facebook page. We will put up a Spotify playlist with links to all of the stuff that we talked about, provided I can find it all. We'll have some cuts in there so you can listen to these things that we picked up. And the Spotify playlist will also extend into today's topic, which is our top picks of the year, our countdown of the year, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
This
Yep.
is something that folks like doing every at the end of every year, whether it be records or movies or top viral moments here and there. But we figured, what the heck?
Yeah, it took me over a month to prepare for mine because I've had so much new music for 2024. I mean, for me, 2024 was an incredible year of music. I mean, there's so much phenomenal stuff. But yet when you look at the top selling albums, I'm not finding most of my picks on there, Jim. What the hey?
No, me either. Let's look at that very quickly here. This is from a website we had picked up. Let me find this here very quickly. That counted down the top, and it's an official chart apparently. So it's from officialcharts.com. It's on the internet, Steve, so it must be true.
Yes.
So, here are the top selling albums, vinyl wise, for 2024. No surprise at the top of this with Taylor Swift and Tortured Poets, that one that she put out just the day before Record Store Day back in April, the 4 different versions. A few other biggies on here. We see Oasis, the Definitely Maybe, and that is obviously is that a new one? That's not a new one, is it?
No, it's
Trying to
not.
think.
It's a reissue of the anniversary, I believe. 1994 is when it originally came out. So this is our 30th anniversary. Yeah, you have to do one of them, and it was so good that man, it made number 2. Isn't that crazy?
It is. Billie Eilish with one of her latest, Hit Me Hard and Soft. I don't believe that's the isolated one, but the one that came out earlier. Fontaine's Chapel Roan, I can attest to that. I still, whenever I get a copy of that Rise and Fall, the Chapel Roan sells here in the store. Number 6, this is still surprising me. Fleetwood Mac, hanging tough in the top 10 with Rumors. That is a perennial diehard, along with Dark Side of the Moon at number 10. Just amazing.
50th anniversary of Rumors is getting closer and closer. Think
Yeah.
about what's going to happen with that one.
Oh, can you imagine the box set they're going to drop on that thing?
Yeah.
Sabrina Carpenter, Liam Gallagher, and John Squire, Last Dinner Party. And number 10 was Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which we'll talk about here in a second or two. That has to do with that reissue as well, the 50th anniversary reissue this year, I think, propelled or kept that in the top 10.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon. The Amy Winehouse Back to Black. That's kind of cool to see. But one that I see a lot of people on their list is that Brat by Charlie XCX and the Idols Tank. Both of those I see on a lot of lists.
Yep. So that's great. And Olivia Rodrigo's in there as well. And then you get some other interesting ones on there, like the Bob Marley Legend still hangs to. Another Taylor Swift. Beyonce made it in there. Noah Kahan, 21 Pilots, Stone Roses. That was an interesting kick in there at number 24. Libertines, David Gilmour's Luck and Strange holds in, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, I think. Another Oasis. The Smiths, The Queen is Dead, obviously a reissue hit and did well on that. More Taylor Swift.
Yep.
She is ruling this. And then Folklore, a lot of those older Taylor Swift as well. Reissue of Californication from the Red Hot Chili Peppers at 38. And
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Wild God.
That was his new one this year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And again, that was a favorite for a lot of people. I did, of all the billions of new albums I bought, I did buy the David Gilmour on the list.
You did. So I think that's an interesting list of the top ones. Taylor Swift obviously still ruling, not only with her new one, but with multiple older copies still holding true in there.
Yeah.
So for our top lists, Steve and I have opted to just come up with some random category, obviously best album here and there, but a few different things that we wanted to specifically look gear toward our version of collecting. How's that sound?
Yeah, that works.
And Discogs has kind of made this a little easier, but it also was a little eye-opening for me because we've talked about how you can sort your collection in Discogs and how you can look at things. Now, the default view for me when I'm looking at both my collection and my inventory for the store in Discogs is to have it sorted by most recently added. So if I resort by added recently, you can go back through just and scroll, see everything that you've added in my case, in the personal collection over the past year. You're going to see, I think I'm a little Floyd-centric this year for some reason, and we'll get to a few of those. But what was very surprising, and I know you're the opposite of this, but I picked up relatively few new albums this year. 6. And that's it.
Wow.
6 new albums. And here's the weird part. Looking at this, half of those, 3 of the 6 were bluegrass albums, Steve.
Isn't that something?
It is something. I'll cover those here in a second or two, but that was very surprising. But I had a real tough time with a couple of these categories that we came up with. But it was odd for me to look back and say, okay, new albums, new music. I picked up a few reissues here and there as well, but relatively few on my part on the new album side.
I picked up 46 new albums that came
Wow.
out this year.
Wow.
46. And it's around the world. It is every continent, and again, I've done my best of on my channel already, but South America got missed, and I'm still feeling bad for everybody in South America. And I was looking at something last night. I go, hey, they're from South America. Maybe I need to get that. I miss out on what's happening down there. So yeah, but yeah, it was a
So
big year for me.
we'll cover some of our categories as we work toward our best overall pickup, and that means new or vintage. But let's start off with that best new album.
Best new
For
album.
yeah, for me, it was. There's really no question on this one, but I mentioned I only picked up 6 new albums this year, and that included Johnny Blue Skies, which is Sturgill Simpson bluegrass. I got a Jerry Douglas Traveler, which is also bluegrass. The Smithereens Lost album. I don't know if I can count that as new because it's older stuff, but they've never released it before. Picked up a copy of that Mark Farner Closer to My Home. And the top 2 that I had a tough time narrowing these down. One of them was David Gilmour's Luck and Strange, the new one that came out. That was late summer, I think, is when that one popped.
Yeah,
This one I remember it really impressed me when I listened to it. It's orchestral, it's old Floyd, it's Gilmour solo, and it's different new stuff because of the inclusion of his daughter. I really did enjoy this, and I remember you picking yours up and saying it was okay, but um, it was good. But it is topped on my list by best new album this year by Billy Strings and Highway
sure.
Prayers. I listened to this again the other day. I got a couple copies in the store, so I was able to play my copy and move them on. And I'm still just absolutely impressed with the music on this album. It's great. It's there's beautiful music in there. There's thoughtful music in there. There's tongue-in-cheek fun music in there. There's instrumentals in here. And I guess you're going to say now that maybe I'm officially a new bluegrass fan. That 3 of my 6, with the Sturgill, the Jerry Douglas, and now the Billy Strings Highway Prayers, that just topped my list of my favorite new album this year.
Well, bluegrass just makes you smile, makes you
It
happy.
does.
How could
It
you not
does.
like that? And that Billy Strings was very good. It did not make my top 16. I did have a bluegrass that made my top 16, AJ Lee,
Okay.
which had been sent to me. And I just thought it was a marvelous album. Great bluegrass, fantastic storytelling, and all these people sing. And that's what I liked about that group is everyone's like a vocalist. So they're adding in, they're putting their harmonies together, and it sounded really good. Uh, yeah, I had a terrible time doing my best of. It was really tough, but it wound up being Blushing,
Oh
and
yeah.
this is Sugarcoat. And I think what really kind of reason why I jumped to the top is this is one of the only concerts I went to this year. It's just in a nice little small club, and they came and played, and they did such an incredible job. It was a wonderful concert. They It's shoegaze and dream pop. It's 2 girls, 2 guys, 2 married couples doing this. Currently, they're touring in Japan right now, and the vinyl I just read, but they autographed this. It's signed, sealed, and delivered by. Then they got their names on there, so pretty cool. But I played this a ton this year. I really have enjoyed it. Again, shoegaze, dream pops type stuff, which is where really a lot of my albums fell into that category this year.
Very neat side point. Both of our top albums, you with those guys and me with the Billy Strings. I'd seen Billy Strings in concert, so there's a lot to be said about the touring bands and how that can
Yeah,
have an effect on our like for their stuff.
exactly. Very much
Now,
so.
I picked up a lot of reissues as well this year, but best new reissue was next on our list of whatever categories that we
Mhm.
were kicking out. And hands down for me, this has got to be the Dark Side. This we had the argument of whether or not we actually needed to add yet another Dark Side of the Moon reissue to the collection. But the 50th anniversary issue of this that came out was on those the picture discs that use the kind of the revolutionary printing process. That reissue had, the poster in there as well. But this one had that clear vinyl, and just it's a very cool packaging. We talk a lot about packaging and how much we like to add that in, but the single side playable. So they turned this into a double LP, but each side is playable on that clear vinyl with Dark Side of the Moon. And I think that anniversary and an interesting repackaging of this is what led that to be my favorite reissue of the year.
That was probably the best sounding of the Pink Floyd albums. It
Yep.
really was incredible. Even better than that last one you just bought.
Much better. Much better. But it didn't have little pop out floaty astronauts on it.
I have two I'll show here. This one, I'm not sure if it was this year or last year. I didn't dig into it deep, but this was like the most highly anticipated thing. This was from Third Man, a box set on Syd Barrett.
Oh,
And it's his complete works. And I was so excited to get this. You got the Madcap Laughs there. We have
vocals in there.
Vocals in there. And there is they have all his albums and in this wonderful box set. And I remember I used to have a few original of these I bought used and go, yeah, kind of I didn't like it. But this was back in the early 80s. It wasn't what I was digging. Now I'm really, really love his voice, and I really love those albums. But the biggest one, this is from Record Store Day, Viva Ngozi.
Oh yeah.
This to me was it's never been reissued before. There's only the original, and that is it. So to have Paul Ngozi and to have this album come out as Zamrock collector, this was fantastic. Instead of spending $400, I got this reissue that does not have Snap Crackle Pop and a beat up cover. So super excited about this. I've played samples of this for folks, and people have been buying it, and they write to me and go, I can't believe how good this album is.
Oh yeah.
And it just was fantastic. So by far, that was my top.
That'll make our Spotify playlist for the sound samples too. And you're kind of converting me over, because every time I add one of those Ngozi ones onto the playlists, it's like, dang, these things are absolutely killer.
Yeah.
They're fun. So next up, we decided on best compilation. We did an entire episode on greatest hits and compilations and the like, and their importance in collecting and how and why some people really like them and why some people don't. I like compilations and I like greatest hits albums, because it adds, as we said before, just a way to have all the good stuff in one spot. Sometimes there may be a stinker or two on a record, but I got these down to two of them. And one of them is that They Might Be Giants and their compilation Idlewild that had a lot of their mid-range stuff on here. So very cool, but I'm still waiting. And there's another They Might Be Giants comp coming out in a week or two. I'll talk about that, I'm sure. But for me, the top compilation of 2024 was the Smashing Pumpkins and their Rotten Apples. And for several reasons, meaning that even the reissues, original Smashing Pumpkins, you're going to get into the triple digits for these doggone things. And then even the reissues, when we would go to do reissues, they were box sets, and they're still in that $70, $80, $90 range on these. So I was very, very happy to see that they decided to do a double LP of the greatest hits. And I will throw this thing on in the store and it'll sell whenever I've got a copy, because it was reasonably priced for a double LP, and it just had everything you always wanted from the Smashing Pumpkins, including some of their stuff from the soundtracks on here as well, with the likes of Drown.
Yeah.
So,
this thing, that was in CD back in the aughts, and it never made it to vinyl. It's like, because I'd just go, okay, why don't they put that on vinyl? That was fantastic. I love greatest hits, as you know. I mean, I'm giant fan of greatest hits because it takes up less room.
Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins is a good reason. I don't want all those albums. But my pick was kind of a small box set, Strum and Thrum. And this is Strum and Thrum, the American Jangle Underground from 83 to 87.
Okay, so that's a compilation of everything.
A compilation.
Yep.
And it just wonderful compilation. It has, I mean, nice size book in here of what's going on, and there's, love the, this is college rock. This is
Yep.
what the '80s to me and to you was all about, and this is what we really got into. And then it's just a 2 album box set. The Ferrets, Rift Doctors, Great Plains, Downy Mildew, The Strand. I'm sure you're recognizing all these. The Outnumbered, which I do have their album, 3 hits, Sex Clark 5, Salem 66. I have their album. But most of these I don't. And so that's what I like about compilations. When it's music that's in your wheelhouse, you have all these groups, you go, oh, you want to get into more of it and start experimenting and finding it. And so,
So I'm going to make my
this
note here.
was
Strum and
phenomenal.
Thrum. That one got by me. I have to look for that.
Yeah, Strum and Thrum. I think you bought it for me. Maybe,
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
have to see there. So
Yep.
next up on our hodgepodge, we had best new artist, and I got to say, Steve, this one really gave me fits because I really didn't have any new artists come in. The last one that I really remember was the Wet Leg from a couple of years ago. That being really excited
Uh-huh.
about that. The closest I could find was from an album that was from 2023, but I didn't get until this past year, and this is Leona Jane Kennedy, and her album New World Woman. I keep pressing the wrong button here, Steve. Sorry about you're not seeing it. But, New World Woman, and this is an album of Rush covers. I got this through our friends at Rush Fest Scotland when he sent me the latest tributes album to Neil Peart. I said, "Hey, will you get a Leona Jane for me and put it in there? I'll pay for it." So newer artist, but it's a year old. Just beautiful stuff and really kind of laid back and stripped down covers of Rush done by a female artist. So not technically new, but I'm going to count that because
All
I
right.
can. Is it
You know,
allowable?
it is. It's our podcast, so yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
The with all those new albums I bought, I only had two brand new artists out of it.
Oh wow! So I wasn't
Yeah.
alone.
No, you weren't. But they were both excellent. One is Modati, and this is their album Opaque. It came out and just fairly, pretty hard shoegaze. When I played samples of this got a lot of people excited. They were very, and so they jumped at this album and went out and bought it and liked it. And it's actually topped a few of the more of the indie channel list people their lists as one of the best albums of the year. Modati Opaque. I also added in, but the other new group was called Crush, and Crush. But that's it's hard to know how does this album even go. But again, dream pop, shoegaze type music sounds just wonderful. Bandcamp. I think I purchased both of those off of Bandcamp. Bandcamp's dangerous when you get into that stuff. But those both their first albums.
Very cool. So next up on our list, we had our best or most rare vintage find. How's that? Our
Yeah.
rarest vintage find. And again, this gets a little tricky because okay, what is rare? Does rare mean expensive? Does rare mean very hard to find? I had a couple things that popped to mind on my list, and one of them, rarity, but not well. I guess it was maybe a little expensive. And this was a test pressing that I picked up of Bob Seger's album Seven from 1974. It's got the original cue sheet in there that was sent out to the whoever it was that was getting this, usually in the label or the artist management would get a hold of these. So Bob Seger 7 was a cool one to get, but by far, I think the biggest and rarest add to my collection this year was the original Nevermind from Nirvana, the radio station issue, not a promotional. You got to keep that in mind. This is not a promotional label version of it. It was an original version that was sent to a radio station, but still, I mean, we got the writing on there. It's still very cool. This was a biggie. Unaltered without the writing, these things are worth a lot. I haven't really decided what this one would be worth otherwise, but still a very rare and cool add to the collection here, because these things are so hard to find on that original. Vinyl's decent on it at least, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's nice. That was really neat. My very best, I'm saving to the end for this one.
Got it.
But I bought there was a lot of really cool. In fact, I'm working on a video of like almost like my grails of 2024 that I bought. That because there was some just phenomenal stuff. But I have two here. One out from you, the Sonic Youth Dirty. This is such a clean, beautiful copy and original. And it's one of my favorite Sonic Youth albums. It has 100% on here. It has Sugar Cane, swimsuit issue. This is incredible stuff. I was just so excited to find this. Never seen it. And so Dirty by Sonic Youth.
I remember when that came through, and you were like, "Ooh."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. And then at a record show, this Diana Gallus and this and John Paul Jones, The Sporting Life. It's still sealed. I still haven't decided. I have the CD, dang it. But yeah, I could not believe I saw this. It's never been reissued. This was an original, and there's only once done in vinyl. So this just was a jaw dropper for me. And I was done spending money. I'd spent all kinds of money, and then that shows. And then all common sense and wisdom went out the door.
You're going,
Does it really matter? Does my wife really need to eat or need a Christmas present? I think not. I have to have it. So yeah. Great.
Well, let's go the exact opposite end. How about next one? Talk about our best vintage common pickup. And this is where I tend to shine because I see a lot of stuff come through that I got rid of when we started the store and I wanted to bring back in or had gotten rid of. And there was a few things. I picked up this year a copy of Green Thoughts by the Smithereens. Not exactly common, but still a fun one to get. Same thing. I had a Neil Merriweather Kryptonite, the promo copy I got of that Space Rock album. Not common, so to speak, and I actually had to go to Discogs to get this one. So, it wasn't super expensive, but at the same time, I can't really call that common. So, what I think I came down to is my best common find was a copy of Steve Winwood in Ark of the Diver. This is just kind of a neat go-to album from time to time. Yeah, it's not, I don't think people really get into it as much, but it's just good music to put on. I like Steve Winwood and the old Traffic stuff as well. And this copy came through just beautiful shape, cover and everything. So I thought, you know what, this is a good add to the collection, and obviously very common type you could find for under $5.
Yeah. I had two of them here. First one was Adamant's King of the Wild Frontier. I've been after Jim for this for a long time. You see it, gotta let me know, gotta let me know, gotta let me know. Because this was my first trip to England, and it was big, right after college. So I wanted this back. And I'd go to record shows. Nope, don't have it, don't have it. I couldn't find this thing. Finally here in Denver, I found it, priced way too high. Didn't matter. I've been looking forever. Jim couldn't help me for the life of him. So I bought it. Like a week or two later, Jim got one in the store.
That's how it works.
And it was a hell of a lot cheaper. But it is a beautiful, very, very clean copy of it. And great Adam in the end. So really happy. And the other one that let's just keep up with Jim failed me. Okay.
No.
The very first Flock of Seagulls that I personally hated when it came out because I thought that's just the dumbest, stupidest hair in the whole wide world. And what's up with those guys? So looking, going to record stores. It's in my phone. Both of them were in my phone, trying to find them. Record stores, going to record shows. No one has it. Finally, I found it again. Paid too much for it. Bought it. Didn't matter. Jim gets it in a couple weeks.
The next week.
Every time. He does that every time to me. I don't, if it's a common thing. If it's uncommon, maybe not. But if it's common, I'll wait a year a year, and he never gets it in. So I just have to go buy one. They go, well, there it is.
And then it shows up in a drop video.
Yeah, it does.
Go
I
figure.
said, oh my God. And I start cussing and swearing at the screen, and because I know his price will be much better.
Yep. Okay, let's
There
go
we
over to
go.
best bootleg pickup, new or vintage. And I had a couple
Okay.
here that I am just kind of up and about here. This one was a recent reissue and on vinyl for not the first time, but in a long time. It's a bootleg copy of Pump Up the Volumes soundtrack, the soundtrack to Pump Up the Volume. You got Henry Rollins on here, Liquid Jesus, The Pixies, Peter Murphy, Bad Brains, Soundgarden. I messed up. Henry Rollins is not on here. I'm sorry. Let's see. Sonic Youth, Cowboy Junkies. This is just a cool. I love the movie, and I've always been on the lookout for a vinyl version of this. One of the bootleggers had it, so I snagged one, and I'm happy. But it's not my top bootleg or unofficial of the year. That's going to go toward this Pink Floyd album. And I said we are going to be a little Pink Floyd centric. This is a recent. It says 2023, but I don't think that we could get them here until this year. And it's a Pink Floyd triple LP bootleg of their concert at Montreux in 1970. The packaging on this is just great. The vinyl sounds fantastic. It's a great sounding live
Yeah.
recording of the early Floyd stuff. Astronomy, Domini is on here, Embryo, Careful with That Axe Eugene, Saucer Full of Secrets, and then a sixth side of Nothing But a Blues Jam, live blues jam of Floyd. So by far, this Pink Floyd live at Montreux 1970 gets my vote for the unofficial bootleg of the year.
Jim got me to buy that one,
I
but
did.
it was excellent. It was excellent. Mine, Clash 45. It says Epic in here. You go into Discogs, this is unofficial. And so it says unofficial, but it is Japanese pressing on there. Just a little card, and then of course just the 45 White Man and Hammersmith with Japanese writing on there. This was great. Just very excited. I bought a collection of 45s of the Clash from Jim.
Yep.
And they've been sitting around. No one was jumping at these, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. Here was another one, the Clash Capitol Radio EP. Again, this is a bootleg version of it, but cool labels. They're all in Discogs, but they are unofficial, but really neat stuff, and happy to add that to the Clash collection.
Very cool. Next category, I don't know if I'm going to call this strangest find, but most out there stuff that maybe folks would listen to. It's like, what the heck are you listening to?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm going to call it strange because we did find out that Richard Cheese watches the podcast once in a while. So
Yeah.
I don't
did
want
find
to.
my Richard Cheese album. It was
Yeah. I don't want to. I want to say that Richard Cheese stuff is strange, but it's definitely fun. So this made my list. His Lounge Against the Machine, because they're just absolutely out there covers of the rock. We talked about that a couple of weeks back, but still very, very cool to do. But also on that list for me of the strangest is this Punk Floyd. And these are punk. I'm seeing a theme here, Steve.
Yeah.
Punk cover versions of Pink Floyd songs, from everybody from Jaw Wobble doing Time to Fear doing Astronomy Domini. The Dead Boys are on here. Angry Samoans, the Vibrators. This is just fun because you get used to listening to Floyd and you want to either space out with the early stuff or just kind of get a little mellow and into the mid-range Floyd stuff. And this rips the cover off of that and just gives you punked out versions of those. So I'm going to call that, I don't want to say strange, but definitely it's out there. Not everybody's cup of tea type of pick for the year.
Yeah. I have that Richard Cheese Dark Side of the Moon album.
That's right. I've got that one too. That's another Floyd
which Jim got me to buy. There's I think the theme of this should be albums Jim got me to buy. And we could just go on for hours on that one.
Oops.
But strange
point. There we go.
This is, to Jim's point, this is incredibly fun, and the covers are done well. but with punk attitude. And I mean, they just it isn't like tongue in cheek. Oh, let's just make. They really
Yeah.
play the music well,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it just
it's into it.
it's a good tribute. Yeah,
It
there
is.
we go.
All right. Now let's before we get to our best overall, let's go the opposite again here. How about the most disappointing pickup of the
Yeah,
year? Stuff that you thought was going to be cool. Oh, but not really. I'm going to toss
yeah.
that Vixen that I showed earlier in on mine because I had some high hopes for that, but not quite what I thought. But by far and above, I'm going to go one more Floyd here. The most disappointing pickup was another bootleg, and this is the Pink Floyd. It says Japanese broadcast 1972 of Sapporo. And this was on double clear vinyl. And I thought, okay, this is a Floyd concert. I do not have the packaging. It was actually really cool. It's on really crystal clear vinyl, but the audio quality on this is horrible. Not only is it horrible, it's an audience recording. It's not a broadcast. They kind of were a little, they played fast and loose with that description, but they mastered this at the wrong speed. Now I've got a pitch correcting turntable. My techniques will do some pitch correcting. I have to pitch on this and up a little bit just to make it sound like a normal broadcast. So not cheap, and they could have done a lot better. But yeah, that's kind of my disappointment of the year is this one.
So mine, uh, Babsy Kanate. All right. Yes, I know everyone go, really? Babsy Kanate? You didn't like that one? Yeah, kind of shocked.
Go figure.
From Africa, from Gao, Gao, and he is known for rapping. It's called the Gao rap scene or whatever. And this is on Vinyl Me Please. It sounds intriguing. It sounds really neat. It's new music. Number 199 of 500. And I'm shocked that 199 maybe have sold of these, maybe not. Uh, this is bad. I mean, it's like these rapping synthesizers all over because he has his own style, and all these rappers come in, and it has to be done in his style because he owns the recording studio, and he does all the producing, and yeah, I this not good
Got it.
at all.
Regretful.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's cleanse our palate, shall we? With our
Yes.
10th here. And this is our best overall pickup of the year, new or vintage. Now, for my side, I had a few of these. I had a few really good ones to choose from. And it's not necessarily expensive, not necessarily rare, but just the thing that we brought into our collection in the past year that made us feel good about getting. I had a couple of things. The Pink Floyd, I had a 1979 UK press of The Wall. Very impressed to find that in great condition. That's good. I found a Mojo Nixon, Root Hog or Die, the late Mojo Nixon. Very happy to add that in as well. I also added a Rush Moving Pictures. It was an anniversary, a half-speed master of Moving Pictures, which sounds absolutely fantastic. So I had this choice of coming down. What am I going to do? But I have to say, Steve, it comes back down to Billy Strings for me and Highway Prayers, as this is my best pickup of the year. I've played this thing a lot, and I will continue to play this a lot into the upcoming year, simply because I just dig this album so doggone much.
Yeah.
And you know, whether I'm going to say I'm a bluegrass fan or not, it's beside the point. I'm a Billy Strings fan, and this album really does it for me. So this is my best pickup of the year, is that Billy
Very
Strings.
nice. Mine bought the Ngozi family, Day of Judgment, an original. This this is one of the very best Zamrock albums, the Ngozi family. You can get it on reissue, so you don't have to try to find an original. Because my original, it's even written on the back here, very rough vinyl. So yeah, it is. It really, if you love Snap Crackle Pop, it's really good. But you know, there's the cover. It's taped everywhere. For those that are just listening on the phone, there is a liberal use of tape on this to keep it together. But as a Zamrock collector, this is like one of those holy grails. It's not the most expensive one out there that, to find, but it does ask for a lot of money. And yeah, the vinyl's terrible. That doesn't matter when it comes to to find a pristine Zamrock album. They're out there, but those were the collectors that understood it, generally from Europe, that got them really early in the scene. Now we're kind of whatever they find down there in the ditch or whatever. But
It's not one you throw on the table a lot, but you're happier than heck to have that in the collection.
oh my God, I just look at it, it stays put out, and I just go, yes, I got this. And it was a shock. I got it from Noble Records from Dylan down there. He was nice enough. He usually doesn't send out. He's been very good because he has been my Zamrock king, and has helped me get my Zamrock collection really rolling. So, yep, Ngozi family, Day of Judgment.
Very cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 10 categories of whatever we decided to throw together on this. Some cool stuff. It was a good year. It was a good year for pickups. I can do better in a few different areas, but we'll see what 25 brings.
I agree. I don't know. I really needs to bring less music coming into my record.
That is next week's episode when we talk about our vinyl resolutions. But please let us know in the comments, what are some of your top pickups of the year, the things that you're happiest to have brought into your collection, whether it be rare, whether it be common, what makes you feel good about bringing in, and let us know in the comments. Love to hear from you on that.
Yep. Now, there's something about Spotify that actually people listen to us on Spotify.
Yep. And as we wrap up this year, Steve, I wanted to say just a tremendous thank you to the YouTube side is one thing, but the Spotify side was very surprising. Obviously, we get the origins of this on Spotify. We started 92, 93 episodes deep already. Holy cow, man. Doing this, so we started the audio only on Spotify, but Spotify sends out these year-end wraps. If you're a user of Spotify, you get the wrap to the types of things you listen to. But for the creators, they sent these out, and we thought we'd share this as a big special thank you to everybody who does follow us on Spotify. But according to Spotify, our channel, our silly little episode, or our silly little podcast of two guys talking about records, has grown in followers by 268% over the past year. And that is just, I think it's phenomenal. It blows my mind that you folks are enjoying this. And we're tremendously thankful on this. We're getting some decent ratings on there as well. Some other numbers that popped in, the gains in 24, the listeners increased by 388%, 403% increase in streams, and a 268% increase in followers on Spotify, Steve. Just amazing.
That's you don't know it's growing. We just do this because we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And now if people are stuck in traffic, they're actually listening to that. So
let's go for it.
More traffic jams.
This was the one that really surprised me. This was a little add-on they kicked in that says that Two Guys Talking About Records is in the top 5% of video podcasts on Spotify. That again, that blew my mind that we're that high up in there. And I'm in awe, and I'm grateful and appreciative of everybody who has gone through and listened to this and watches us, especially on Spotify and YouTube over the past year. It's great to see.
It is. Whoever would have thought that? I mean, it sure would not have been me. This is wonderful. So huge thank you for everyone that keeps tuning in on this and enjoying it, because believe, no matter what, we're enjoying it. It's a great way for Jim and I to connect every week, which is really nice.
Yeah, it started off with you sitting across the counter here from me, and then we put the microphone in between us, and then now we're doing this long distance. But I am just still so happy to be able to talk about records with you every week, Steve. And I'm happy that folks don't mind listening in on our nonsense.
Yeah, that's right. Figure out what would they show this week.
So as always, thank you folks again for making this worthwhile for us to do every single week. It does mean a lot. And I had a great 2024, both personally and on the collecting side as well. And I know you had some big changes in 24 personally. and obviously on the collecting side as well. It was a good year, and I've got, the store did well this year, and I'm looking forward to a big 25, both personally, both with the store and with my own collection. I'm really looking forward to where things are going.
Yeah, you got a lot of big personal changes coming up in your life, so congratulations on that. And yeah, this
Yes.
this this was a phenomenal year for me with changes in life and everything, and it really couldn't be happier. So
Yep.
yeah,
But
great
between
year.
the move and the grandkids and just everything, it's a big one, man. But
Yep.
as always, Steve, I am so thankful that you're a part of my collecting experience, and we get to do this every week. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. I couldn't agree more. Though I really wish you would find me the records I want before I overspend some
I'll, I'll work on that. Let me know ahead of time on some of those commons. We'll work on that too. You know,
Probably could have saved me $1,000 or something. But
ouch,
yeah,
ouch.
let's get better
We'll
with
see.
this.
We'll make up for it in other ones.
Yeah. That'll be part of our New Year's resolution. Jim's going to do better.
We'll do better on that, and I'll continue to try to. Hey, Steve, you should really check this one out. Check this thing out.
Yeah.
This is fun. All right, folks. Well, you have been listening and/or watching to two guys talking about records of Vinyl Community Podcast. Each week we do this. We're going to continue this into 2025. And until next year, I'm Jim, and I own a record store.
I'm Steve, a record collector. Happy New Year.
Thank you, folks. Bye, Steve.
Bye, Jim.